Hi, I'm Suzanne Kagan, and I'm the VP Marketing at Anyword. I'm going to talk to you today about data-driven ad copy optimization and how you can actually use AI to boost your ad performance. So before we get started, I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. Um, I'm a former content writer turned into a marketing manager and leader. I have over 14 years of experience working in marketing in a variety of different tech startups from B2C, B2B, AI, ad tech, gaming, mobile apps, video communications, bootstrap, seed, Series A, and public companies. I have a very wide range of experience, all of which I've had to create ad copy or manage ad copy for our marketing activity. I work at Anyword now as our VP Marketing. Anyword is an AI performance writing platform. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what we're going to talk about here. So our agenda is to start a little bit more about what are the challenges with large language models, or as most people think about as generative AI, similar to ChatGPT, Bard, and other AI that you're using. We're going to talk about how to train your AI on your brand, your goals, and your performance, as well as the power of predictive analytics, which might be new for a lot of you, and how to use all of that together to actually create on-brand content that converts. So before we get started, I want to share a quick stat with you. This is something that we've actually learned at Anyword, is that on average, better copy will actually boost conversions by 30%. This is where we're seeing marketers who are leveraging and using the power of both AI and generative AI combined with predictive analytics. And just by optimizing their copy with those two different tools, they're able to actually see an increase in conversions by 30%. And this is something that you can do too when you're applying best practices, AI, and predictive analytics into your ad copy optimization. So let's start a little bit more with the challenges of large language models. And I want to take this specifically for demand gen and for marketers here. So I don't know about you guys, but when I first saw generative AI, and this was a little bit before ChatGPT came in, I started thinking, wow, I'm going to create so much content at scale with generative AI. I'm going to be able to create campaigns. I'm going to create also my blog post copy, video ad script, ad copy for Facebook and LinkedIn and social media, my email copy all together. It's going to be super simple. I have this amazing tool, but that's not really the reality of where we're at this point. So some of the challenges that we're still facing is that AI can create generic, inauthentic, and ineffective copy. This is one of the reasons I hear from marketers a lot of why they're not really using generative AI to scale their content. And the other is that, especially for those who are used to writing copy themselves, they find that AI can actually take longer to edit than to write from scratch. And so if you have to take more time to actually edit that copy, then it's not really worthwhile for you and it doesn't serve the purpose of this amazing tool. So the other problem is that generative AI tends to be generic, right? So if it's generic, it's not actually built for marketing. It was built for multiple use cases. You see people using it for code. You'll see people using it to create recipes or meal plans or to create new schedules or travel plans. You can use it for so many wonderful ways to improve your life, but it's not built specifically for marketing and especially not for demand gen. And one of the reasons for that is that it doesn't actually know your brand or what you've tried before. And the biggest challenge that a lot of companies, especially larger organizations, really care about is the fact that AI hallucinates. What this means is that it actually makes stuff up, and it can mean that the output that you get from the generative AI that you're getting is actually inaccurate, which is it's very problematic for larger brands. So even Sam Altman, when ChatGPT went public, he mentioned that ChatGPT is incredibly limited but good enough at some things to create a misleading impression of greatness. This is something I see a lot, especially when you'll see these LinkedIn posts where people are sharing all their best tips and how do you do prompts, and I can create, so much amazing copy and content, but there's a lot of work that's involved in doing that. And what he says here is it's a mistake to be relying on it for anything important right now. It's a preview of progress. We have lots of work to do on robustness and truthfulness. And truthfulness goes back to this issue that I mentioned before, that AI hallucinates and can make stuff up and can make your content actually inaccurate. Now, thankfully, it's moving at a very rapid pace, and you'll see new variations coming out, new versions and improved tools all the time. So actually, a lot of this has become better and better over time. So the tools that we have right now, they are amazing, but they have problems. And what you end up having is something like this. You have an AI that is almost like a new intern that just joined your marketing team. They don't really know where to start. They might be the smartest person you ever met, but they don't have, the onboarding and the training and the context to actually be successful and to create powerful ad copy that you would need. So how do we go from something like this to this, essentially, your AI marketing genius? So this is something that I just mentioned. And how do you do this? It's all about context. So I know many of you have heard the phrase content is king. It's been around for nearly a decade. People saying how important content is for your marketing and for your advertising. But you can't have good content unless you have the right context. Even before generative AI hit the market, you would have to create a very effective brief, a very detailed brief to your copywriter or even to whoever else was writing the copy on your team to share what it is you need from them to have successful ad copy. You'd have to train them essentially to get the right output for your ad copy. So it's the same when it comes to AI. So you need to train AI on your brand, on your goals, and your past campaigns. It's going to look something like this. These are kind of points that you can keep in mind for any type of AI that you're working with. So you're essentially teaching it or onboarding it. You're telling it who you are, what you need, what it's for, and what you want to achieve. Let's start with the what. This is one of the things that you should do not only in just training your AI, but even the writers that you're working with in-house. So it's telling them, what is that goal? It's providing the AI with the goal and the context. Are you doing a campaign? Are you creating ads about awareness, for brand awareness, or to educate the market for acquisition? Maybe you're just trying to drive signups. Maybe you're trying to drive demos. Or is it conversion? Are you actually trying to get purchases with this ad copy? Are you trying to drive more leads? It's something that you need to understand. And if you provide that context, your copy from the AI that you're using will actually be a lot better. So it's the goal first, always. Tell it what even CTA. Now, you can have flexibility. You might want to use the creativity of the AI itself and let it determine what are the actual call to actions, but you can share what is the action you want from your audience. What do you want them to do? And that brings us to the who. Everyone always talks about audience, and this is something, the most important part, because if you don't really have a defined audience or a defined ICP, you're not going to have super successful copy. Now, you spend a lot of time, let's say you're creating ads for LinkedIn, spend a lot of time creating that target audience and ensuring you're reaching the right people. So you should be telling your AI, who is that audience you are trying to reach? Are you trying to reach marketers? Are you trying to reach recruiters? Are you trying to reach CISOs? They should know who you're trying to reach. And they should know what are their pain points and what are their motivations, why they would actually be interested in your solution or your product. These are important things to keep in mind as you're creating your prompts for AI. And you also need to tell it where it will live. Now, this is something actually that most marketers are pretty good about when they're creating their prompts. They will say, I'm creating website copy, or it's a new landing page, or I need an Instagram post, or I need LinkedIn or Facebook. But every single use case is different. And you want to, and the value of having content at scale is that you can actually state your specific use case and get different variations for that, right? So once you have this in mind, you can get started. What will this actually look like in your prompts and how will it transform them? We'll do something like this. So a typical prompt that I'll see is like this: write LinkedIn ad copy for HR recruiters looking for recruitment software. Now, you might add some more details, but this is the general prompt I often see when people are using something like ChatGPT. So you want to start out by giving it that additional context. You want to mention that you have a powerful recruiting SaaS solution, the name of it, the ad should focus on the specific benefits, and there you would outline some of those benefits, how it can improve companies' recruiting offers. Tell it how you want it to speak. What's the language that you want it to use in that ad? What are the specific needs of that target audience? And also, you should guide it and give it instructions on how to create a call to action and how to incorporate the following URLs. You should give it all of that instruction as detailed as you can. There's some people say a shorter prompt is better. I've always found that the more specificity that you give, the better actually the output it becomes. So another thing we talked about before is not just training it on the context, but also training it on your brand. So how you would do this is you need to train it on your tone of voice. Tone of voice for a company or for a brand is something that's pretty complex. It's developed over time. Companies invest a lot of money into their brand voice. And so this is something, it's not just saying, hey, I want this ad to sound engaging or I want it to be compelling. That's a given. That's part of the basics of creating an ad. But your company has a specific voice and a tone that you've worked hard developing and cultivating. So in order to train the AI on that voice, you're going to have to think a little bit like an engineer. Now, this is how you would do it if you were using a system like ChatGPT. It's a little bit technical. You can see here, like you're an AI system. It has been trained to analyze text below for style, voice, tone, create a voice paragraph, and it goes into very specific detail about how they should do it. And here you would provide various examples to an AI like ChatGPT so that you would have at the end of it like an output of a tone of voice paragraph that you could then potentially reuse. And I said part of the challenges of AI right now, because it launched and it's not fully baked and it's not built for marketing, is that you have to act like an engineer. And this is why you'll see so many posts about engineering prompts. Now, I like to spend my time as a marketer working on my marketing activities. The point that I feel AI serves me is to help me scale my content and get better performance from that content. So there are other simpler ways to do this. For example, there are tools where you can actually just insert your URL and it will understand, take the sample of the content that you created or that you're sharing, and then create a voice or tone of voice paragraph for you. I use the example of Anywhere's tool, but I'm sure there's other tools out there that you can use. And then you will be able to have your specific tone of voice if your brand hasn't developed it yet or has it clearly defined. You can then use this type of tone of voice into your future generations. That's an important resource for you to have if you want to make copy that is more effective and that stands out. So now that we've trained on our brand voice and we understand that we need to talk about our audience and we need to train it on our specific use case, Here's an example of a prompt that we can give to ChatGPT using those factors. So we tell the ChatGPT or the AI who it is, and it's not just act like this. You want to tell it who they are. They are a content marketing expert, and they're tasked with creating 3 variations of LinkedIn ad copy. We tell it what the ad is about, what company, its name, tell it the tone of voice. And as you can see, this is a pretty comprehensive tone of voice. It's much more than just saying, hey, write it in an engaging way or write it in a friendly way. So I think this is important that you keep this in mind. In addition, here's where we add the our specific persona or ICP I mentioned. Let it know who you're targeting. Is it HR manager, their age, and the specific pain points. If you give the pain points, it will then create copy that is specific, that addresses those pain points. So here is one variation of those 3. Can take a second to look at it. And what you'll notice is this is our LinkedIn ad copy. It is addressing pain points, endless hours wasted on wrong candidates, sifting through resumes at lightning speed. So it's giving you a benefit there. There's no more marathon interview sessions, streamlined process. These are things that, and it's addressing HR. Now, this is something that a lot of people actually comment on. It's a problem often in AI that it will be, sometimes a little overly promotional. So these are the areas that you would want to tweak yourself, and you can. Just because you're generating content with AI doesn't mean that you should copy and paste that. But still, even so, you have copy here, and it's not the perfect ad. You still need to train it for better performance. So this is the next step, right? So how do you train AI for better performance? Your brand is unique. What makes your marketing work is also unique. You've tried, you tested, you've done a bunch of A/B tests, you understand which copy is working better than others. You don't just run one ad, you tend to run multiple ads at the same time, and you'll know which ads perform best for you, or have at least a general understanding which have worked best for you in the past. So in order to get better copy that works for your performance is that you'll actually want to provide samples of past successful ads for you. And you are the one who gets to decide what is considered success. You know your KPIs, you know your goals. It could be, for some, it might be cost per lead. For others, it's those that generated conversions or those that generated pipeline. So this is something that you need to decide which ads you will provide as samples or a baseline so that the AI can learn which ads and which type of copy is more successful for you. What this will do is it will help you actually create a baseline or a benchmark for your copy to start from. And then you'll want to start improving from there. But then we're introduced to a new challenge, right? Now we've trained our AI for better performance, we've trained it on our brand, and now we're getting a lot of copy. Now we're swimming in many, many different variations of our copy. But even of the variations that we get, we don't know which will perform best. So I've taken 2 ads from the previous screen. These are 2 ads from the same company, and they're used for the same purpose, but I have no idea which ad will perform better. And usually what happens, we're still kind of a little bit backwards in this process because we'll get a lot of copy. Now, generative AI can create mountains of copy for us, and we don't know what works better. Sometimes we'll say, oh, well, this one's using more active language, or this one addresses my audience more, or I like how this sounds, which is super subjective. So how do we know what performs better? So here is where we're introducing something new. This is where I'm introducing predictive analytics. See these scores here on the screen? This is actually based off of AnyWord's AI, which is predictive performance analytics that was trained on millions of successful ads across a wide variety of industries and use cases. So what it does is it gives a score to our ad and tells it from 0 to 100 of how likely this ad is going to perform for you or convert, whatever your goal is on that specific channel. So here's a little bit more about predictive analytics if this is new for you. Essentially, this is a process of using data to forecast future outcomes. There's a bunch of different platforms right now that use predictive analytics to help us make smarter marketing decisions. Anywhere uses this to predict the success of ads. So some of the benefits of applying predictive analytics to our copy is that we will be able to predict which ads will perform better. It removes guesswork from your campaigns. It saves time and money on A/B testing ads, and you'll have more time to invest on other creative initiatives. Now, the reason why this is so important is because nowadays, as I mentioned, you can create 500 variations of ad copy, but you won't know what performs best. And I've seen a lot of AI enthusiasts talking about how amazing that is, that, oh, it solves this problem. Now you can create so many variations. But as a demand gen, you know that you cannot A/B test every single piece of copy that comes your way. You don't have the budget and you don't have the time, and you want a better solution. So now that we know how to train AI on our brands, we know how to add our audiences, we know how to train it on performance, and we also know the power of predictive analytics, we're going to now apply this back to the ad that we created before. So this is where I'm going to show you how you can create on-brand content that actually converts. So here I'm taking a LinkedIn variation that we have from that ad. I'm applying Anyword's predictive analytics. This is my score, I mentioned, from 0 to 100, and I see that it's not a super high performing score. And one of the reasons, is that you can already see that it's too long. You who already, creates many different ads, I'm sure you already knew that from the beginning, even though it's addressing our pain points and it can be on brand and it could be, and it is supposed to get better performance, it still is not quite where we want it to be. So what I'm doing is I'm going to apply this content and add Anyword's predictive analytics on top of it to analyze that content, understand how well this will perform, which is not super high on a score to 0 to 100. And so I actually am going to ask for improved content here. So it took this variation and it provided me with a new variation here and improved it by simplifying language, adding a relatable tone, and applying other best practices. It also compared this variation to 1,000 other similar copy variations within the tech industry. So here it's addressing my target audience, it's still addressing pain points, and it's providing a solution, including the name for that. It's telling me that this is going to apply to HR, resonate with HR managers, which is my target audience. And now I am more likely to have an ad that's going to convert. And I don't need to necessarily A/B test as many of the variations that ChatGPT or another AI would create. I can then decide to A/B test just a couple variations that I know are more likely to convert based on successful ads prior to this. So that's how we're actually going to apply all of the things that we just learned. And a little recap about what we just learned was being aware of the challenges with LLMs, especially the fact that it's not currently built for marketing. And this is why you need to adapt it with other tools, your own best practices, your own prompts, your own brand guidelines, your own performance as well. And this is where you're going to train it on your brand, your goals, and your performance. Here, I recommend experimenting with predictive analytics and start seeing what you can do, because we don't necessarily need to say anymore that sounds good to me, that resonates. If you know that this will help you understand what actually will resonate better and how to leverage all of this to create data-driven copy that converts. So Thank you guys. My name is Suzanne again. I'm the VP Marketing at Anyword. You can reach me on LinkedIn or by email or check out Anyword. It's been a pleasure.